Hello everybody, meet Otis. Otis started off as an April Fool's joke, but as I started assembling it in the computer and the pieces started to come together, I started to realize how serious of a computer case layout it really is. So quick backstory, over the years I've gotten many emails asking me if an ATX motherboard would fit in a Skyreach 4 mini chassis. And of course the answer is no, not by a long shot. But what happens if we can take a Skyreach 4 mini and use some of the basic concepts from it, but use an ATX motherboard? What would that look like? And then make the case just high enough in order to support a half-height or low profile graphics card. Now when you do that, you open the doorway to better cooling. This particular case supports the Scythe Shuriken 3, which is one of my favorite low-profile coolers. And you also support 92mm fans in the front. So these things kind of just went together hand in hand. But what I didn't realize is that you can also take a graphics card and flip it, just like you have in the S3 Mini, and have the fans facing upward and put that over the motherboard. I was even more surprised to see that with some motherboards, ones that have a 16X slot as their first slot, you can have a low profile or half-height card along with your GPU that's arranged horizontally in the same plane as the motherboard. So you can have basically two expansion cards. But even more than that, in this particular case, I have a M.2 PCI Express dual HDMI capture card. There's actually a lot of benefits to having an ATX motherboard for small form factor computing. Many ATX motherboards have gotten to be better and better and better with higher end features and better I/O, but still ATX motherboards reign supreme as far as getting the very best of the best and the latest and the greatest right away. Additionally, while they are more expensive on the super high end, ATX motherboards in general are much cheaper than ITX motherboards, so there could be an angle there for some people. Now, of course, we need a power supply to power all this, and there are many great options available, which solves another pain point of the Mini. Flex power supplies have gotten to be really, really good lately, and they have quiet fans, and they even have modular output. Now, if you guys follow this channel, you know Scythe Jerry, and Scythe Jerry and I are buddies, and I asked him for a power supply because he now works for FSP Group. So he sent me over a Flex Guru 300-watt Flex power supply. Now, he could have sent me the 500-watt version, and the 500-watt version has output for a graphics card, an extra little cable, as well as the overhead, but this was going to be perfect for my build because I'm only using a half-height graphics card. So the parts in this are not super duper fancy. Again, this is just a concept PC, and even the build itself doesn't really echo my demand for perfection, but it's a concept, and I think that it does a beautiful job demonstrating the layout and the value of the layout. So I think that the layout is a success. It's novel and useful, and I'm actually going to be building on this for the next couple of my own personal cases and mods. But there are some more things coming out of this design that I think are valuable that I would want to share with you guys. And one of those is the front bezel design. Now, when I say front bezel design, I'm not talking about how it looks necessarily, but more of how it functions and fits. I do really like how it looks. It is a two-piece bezel with a carbon fiber inlay that sits in a machined aluminum block, but of course you could be using any materials to make this. My buddy Eric, of course, machined this on his CNC for me and did a beautiful job polishing it out, and I really like the rounded corners that he produced on it. But it's valuable because it allows a giant air gap between your fans and the front grille, meaning that the fans don't make any noise as they pull air through the front grille, which is really fantastic. On top of that, this could be a great way to extend the depth of your Skyreach 4 Mini or your Skyreach 4 Tiny. I used a 1/2-inch block of solid aluminum, but you could go even thicker than that if you want to, using acrylic or wood, and have something that looks fantastic with the Skyreach aesthetics, and also give you just that little extra space that you need for very long GPUs. The feet, of course, you can find on Bill Owen's website. I sell pointed conical feet that I have machined for me for the Skyreach products, but since they're conical, I think the weight of this case would kind of push them into the table a little bit too much. So these round feet with the rubber O-rings on the bottom, I think, do a little bit better job. I'm not going to go into too much detail about assembling this computer because the components, again, aren't that fancy or exciting. They're stuff that I kind of had lying around. As far as the looks, I'm doing the same thing I've done for several of my builds now, where the rear is a solid panel of black smoke acrylic, so you can barely see into the computer case, which I think looks really nice, but you have access to the back of your motherboard for a fan or for your M.2 SATA drives, or PCI Express drives, excuse me. One thing I do really like is, again, I got Eric to machine me the window panel out, and it's a flush fit. So it sits perfectly flush with the gap of the computer case panel, which looks super duper nice. The finish is a Harley-Davidson satin black, and I bought the colors from TCP Global. And there's not really much else to say about it. But yeah, if you're interested in the computer case, please check out the Patreon page, download it, and play with it. But if not, I hope the idea of the layout gets your mind thinking. I want to thank my Patreon patrons for making this computer case possible. The budget that you provide me allows me to get stuff like this done. So thank you very much. I also want to thank Scythe for these ARGB 92mm fans. They did send them to me, and I give them my full approval because they actually sound pretty good, and you can hear them running in the beginning of this video, and they look good as well. Now, lastly, I want to thank Scythe for sending me the coolers that I used to test in this build. They sent me the Shuriken 2 and the Shuriken 3. I don't really know why anyone would use a Shuriken 2 when they could use a Shuriken 3. It seems like you can fit both of them for most of the builds, and the Shuriken 3 far outperforms the Shuriken 2. But I'm very glad they sent me both so I could test it for myself. So yeah, if you guys like this, please download it on the Patreon page and remix it and use it however your heart's desires. If you want to make your own production case using this layout, feel free to do so. And I actually thinking about doing it myself. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but the layout and the concept I think are super duper solid. Very interesting, and I'm really happy that I got to do this project. So until next time, boys and girls, peace out.